The Awakening. Discovery of the cryopod. The Valoran exploration vessel, NAR, drifted through the void of space, its sensors detecting an anomaly. Captain Vox, driven by insatiable curiosity, directed his crew to investigate the derelict human ship identified as the UEF Endeavor. The ship bore the scars of battle, its hull breached, and its crew seemingly lost to the unforgiving vacuum of space. As they boarded the Endeavor, an eerie stillness greeted them. The once vibrant corridors were now tomb-like, with lifeless bodies floating in the zero-gravity environment. Unearthing the human super-soldier, a faint energy signature drew them to the medical bay, where they discovered a single cryopod still functioning amidst the destruction. Inside the pod lay a human male, Lieutenant Raymond Tucker of the elite United Earth Special Forces. Seeing an unprecedented opportunity to study a live human specimen, Captain Vox made the fateful decision to revive Tucker and bring him back to Voria Prime for further analysis. The reanimation process. Little did the Volarans know that Tucker was no ordinary soldier. He was the product of the clandestine Project Titan, a program dedicated to creating genetically enhanced super soldiers capable of single-handedly altering the course of any conflict. As the VNAR set its course for the Valoran homeworld, Tucker's pod began the reanimation process. His enhanced physiology allowed him to stir from his induced slumber far sooner than any normal human. The unsuspecting Volarans were about to face a force unlike any they had encountered before. Tucker awakens. Tucker snapped his eyes open, immediately scanning the stark white room. He felt the cool metal of the examination table beneath him, restraints around his wrists and ankles, and strange alien devices with blinking lights mounted on the walls and ceiling. The door hissed open, and two lizard-like aliens in white lab coats entered. Their eyes widened when they saw Tucker awake. The scientist's surprise. "By the gods, he's conscious," Dr. Zax exclaimed. "How is this possible?" "Fascinating," Dr. Krell said, approaching the table. "His physiology must be more resilient than we anticipated. Just imagine what we could learn." Tucker let his body go slack, feigning weakness. The scientists leaned in closer. "We need to run a full battery of tests," Dr. Krell said. "Biopsies, stress tests, neural scans. We may never get another opportunity like this." Tucker's escape. As Dr. Zax hurried out, Dr. Krell turned to a tray of ominous-looking instruments. Tucker's muscles tensed. It was now or never. With a burst of strength, he snapped the restraints like they were made of paper. Dr. Krell whirled around, but Tucker was already on him. A quick jab to the throat, and the scientist crumpled. Tucker stripped off the lab coat and badge, then stepped into the corridor. The ship's layout was foreign, but with his enhanced cognitive abilities, he quickly gleaned the basics of Valoran script and technology. Formulating a plan, a holographic map showed that the VNAR was docked at a huge military station orbiting an orange gas giant. Tucker gritted his teeth. He had to get off this ship and find a way to contact UESF Command. If the Volarans learned the secrets of his bioengineered body, it could spell disaster for humanity. He set off at a brisk pace, the lab coat billowing behind him. The badge granted him access through several checkpoints. Tucker kept his head down, not making eye contact with the Valoran crew members he passed. His mind raced as he tried to formulate a plan. He needed a ship, and he needed it fast. The alarm. An alarm began to blare, and a voice came over the loudspeaker in an urgent alien language. Tucker didn't need a translator to know they were talking about him. Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor ahead. A squad of Valoran soldiers rounded the corner, energy weapons drawn. Tucker smiled grimly. Looks like stealth was no longer an option. Time to show these alien bastards what a human super soldier could do. The escape. Engaging the enemy. Tucker sprinted down the corridor, the first squad of soldiers already dispatched. He snatched a tablet from one of the fallen Volarans, his enhanced mind quickly deciphering its contents. The armory, that's where he needed to go. He raced through the ship, following the stolen schematics. Armory assault. Bursting into the armory, Tucker's eyes widened. Rows upon rows of advanced weaponry lined the walls, alien tech he had never seen before, but his genetically engineered intellect adapted quickly. He grabbed a sleek rifle and a set of armor, intuiting their functions. Clad in Valoran battle gear, Tucker set explosive charges around the armory. If he was going down, he'd take their advantage with him. Making his way to the control room. Now for the control room. Using maintenance shafts to avoid patrols, Tucker climbed toward the heart of the station. Voices drifted from ahead. He peered through a vent and saw Captain Vox reporting to a grizzled Valoran in an admiral's uniform. Confronting the leadership, "The human is loose, Admiral Zarn," Vox said, "but we've learned much already. His genetic code, his enhancements. Once we have him again, we can create an army of super soldiers. Earth will fall within a cycle." Tucker's blood boiled. So that was their game. Enslave humanity. Turn his own DNA against his species. Not on his watch. He dropped from the vent, rifle blazing. Guards fell before they could even draw their weapons. Vox and Zarn whirled, but Tucker was already on them. Zarn reached for his sidearm, but Tucker kicked it away, slamming the Admiral into a console. Vox lunged, a glowing blade in hand. Tucker parried, his armor barely deflecting the blow. They traded strikes, the captain's scaly hide proving resilient, but Tucker's strength and speed were unmatched. A crushing punch and Vox crumpled, triggering the alarm. Zarn, bleeding from a cut on his brow, slammed his fist onto a button. Alarms wailed. "You'll never escape this station alive, human," he snarled. Tucker silenced him with a vicious headbutt. He glanced at the control panel, locating the hangar. Time to fly. The hangar showdown. Sprinting through the corridors, Tucker heard the thud of boots behind him. Soldiers, dozens of them. Energy bolts sizzled past his head. He returned fire, not breaking stride. He burst into the hangar, a sleek fighter already in his sights. Voldaran troops poured in behind him, laying down a hail of suppressing fire. Tucker zigzagged, his enhanced reflexes guiding him through the deadly storm. Vaulting into the cockpit, Tucker sealed the canopy, his hands flying over the control systems. The fighter lurched, engines roaring to life. Tucker punched the thrusters, the force slamming him back in his seat. The fighter tore out of the hangar, pulse cannons shredding the bay doors. The escape. Tucker wrenched the controls, narrowly evading the defensive batteries that opened up from the station's surface. Weaving through the storm of anti-aircraft fire, Tucker plotted a course for Earth. Stars streaked past his canopy. He had to warn them, had to prepare humanity for the fight to come. This was only the beginning. The return. The Bastion. The stolen Valoran transport shuddered as it docked with the Bastion, the United Earth Special Forces orbital base. Tucker stepped out, the rescued colonists following close behind. Armed guards aimed weapons but held fire as Colonel Reeves strode forward. "Lieutenant Raymond Tucker, I thought you were dead," Reeves said, eyes narrowed. "You better have a damn good explanation for this." Delivering the intel, Tucker tossed a Valoran pulse rifle at Reeves's feet. "The Valorans, they're coming, Colonel, and they want to turn humanity into weapons." Reeves examined the rifle, then looked to the haggard colonists. "Get these people to the infirmary. Tucker, with me." Sharing the plans. In the command center, Tucker laid out everything. His capture, the impending invasion, the Valoran plans for conquest and subjugation. He slid a data drive across the table. "That's everything I could pull from their systems. Ship schematics, troop numbers, invasion plans." Reeves plugged in the drive, his face growing grim as he scanned the data. "This is, God help us. We need to alert Earth, get every ship and soldier mobilized yesterday. Preparing for war." "I have an idea," Tucker said. "Their tech, their tactics, they're advanced, but not invincible. If we can learn to fight like them, we stand a chance." Reeves nodded slowly. You train them, our best, our brightest. Forge them into a new kind of soldier. Birth of the Vanguard. And so, the Vanguard was born. Tucker and a hand-picked team of the Bastion's finest drilled day and night with captured Volderan weapons and equipment. They studied the enemy's strategies, learned their weaknesses, became the thing the Volderans would learn to fear. Weeks turned to months. The Vanguard grew, strike teams spreading to other human outposts. And when the Volderan scouts came probing, testing human defenses, they found themselves ambushed, outsmarted, outfought at every turn. Sending a message. Bring me their commanders alive. Tucker ordered as his team stormed another Volderan ship. I want them to deliver a message. Capturing the Volderans. The bridge was pandemonium. Alarms blaring, consoles smoking. Tucker stalked through the chaos, his rifle bucking as he put down the last defenders. He grabbed the Volderan captain by the throat, lifting him one-handed. You tell your masters, Tucker growled, that humanity is not prey. We are predators, and we're coming for them. He hurled the captain into an escape pod and punched the eject button. As the pod streaked away, Tucker turned to his team. Set the charges. Let's send these bastards a real message. Explosive departure. Minutes later, the Volderan ship bloomed into a miniature sun, a funeral pyre lighting the night. On the Bastion's bridge, Reeves watched the explosion fade. You think they'll get the message? He asked. Tucker's eyes were cold as he stared out at the stars. They will. But this is just the beginning. The real war is coming, and we'll be ready. The counterattack. The call to arms. The Bastion's command center buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across human space. Volderan warships had breached the outer defenses, their invasion fleets bearing down on key strategic targets. Earth's leaders, their faces grim on the view screens, turned to the man who had become humanity's best hope. Captain Raymond Tucker, the president said, her voice heavy with the weight of billions of lives. You and your vanguard have proven invaluable in the fight against the Volderans. But now we face our darkest hour. We need you to lead the charge once more. Task Force Titan. Tucker nodded, his eyes hard as steel. Task Force Titan is ready, Madam President. We'll show these alien bastards what happens when you mess with humanity. Preparing for battle. As Tucker strode through the Bastion's hangar bay, technicians swarmed over the dropships and fighters of Task Force Titan. The soldiers snapped to attention as he passed, their armor gleaming with the sheen of reverse-engineered Volderan alloys. Listen up, Titans, Tucker barked, his voice carrying over the thrum of engines. We're heading to Proxima Centauri B. The Volderans have landed in force, and it's up to us to kick them off our doorstep. This won't be easy. It'll be the hardest fight of your lives. But I know each and every one of you has the guts and the skill to see it through. Let's give them hell. The battle on Proxima Centauri B. A roar of approval echoed through the hangar as the Titans boarded their ships. Tucker settled into the command chair of the flagship, the UES Retribution, his fingers flying over the controls. The journey to Proxima Centauri B was tense, the task force navigating through a gauntlet of Volderan patrols and minefields. But Tucker's tactical acumen and the skill of his pilots saw them through, the Retribution touching down on the planet's battle-scarred surface. Engaging the Volderans. The scene that greeted them was one of chaos and destruction. Volderan war machines stalked through the ruins of human settlements, their weapons spitting plasma and searing lasers. Human defenders, outnumbered and outgunned, fought desperately to hold the line. Leading the charge. Tucker led the charge, his rifle barking as he stormed into the fray. The Titans followed, their advanced weaponry cutting swaths through the Volderan ranks. Tucker moved like a force of nature, his enhanced reflexes and strength allowing him to dodge incoming fire and dispatch enemies with brutal efficiency. Confronting the apex. In the heart of the battle, Tucker came face to face with a squad of Volderan soldiers, their armor bearing the distinctive markings of the apex. the genetically enhanced warriors created from his own stolen DNA. They moved with terrifying speed and precision, their blows shaking the earth. But Tucker was faster, stronger, his every move guided by a lifetime of training and the fire of human determination. He engaged the apex in a whirlwind of close-quarters combat, his fists and feet striking with the force of hammers. One by one, the apex fell, their augmented bodies no match for the fury of humanity's champion, the behemoth. But as the last soldier crumpled, the ground shook with the tread of heavy footsteps. A massive figure loomed out of the smoke, its armor a bristling shell of spikes and plates. The behemoth, the most feared of the apex, had come to claim Tucker's head. With a roar that shook the battlefield, the behemoth charged, its fists crackling with disruptive energy. The final showdown. Tucker met the charge head-on, the clash of their bodies sending shockwaves rippling through the air. They traded blows that would have shattered stone, their armor sparking and cracking under the onslaught. Tucker ducked and weaved, his mind racing as he sought a weakness in the behemoth's defenses. There, a hairline fracture in the armor plating just below the collar. Tucker lunged, his fist driving forward with all the strength he could muster. The turning point. Taking down the behemoth. Tucker's fist slammed into the behemoth's weakened collar, his armored knuckles tearing through metal, flesh, and bone. The monstrous Volaran convulsed, then slumped, its lifeless bulk crashing to the war-torn ground. Tucker staggered back, his armor sparking and dented, blood seeping from a dozen wounds. He raised a fist in weary triumph as the last of the apex fell before the guns of his titans. The price of victory. But the victory was short-lived. A searing pain lanced through Tucker's side, and he looked down to see a jagged shard of the behemoth's armor embedded in his abdomen, punching through his compromised battle suit. He crumpled, his vision swimming. "Captain's down," a voice shouted, and then his titans were there, dragging him to the AVAC shuttle as darkness claimed him. The aftermath. Tucker awoke to the sterile white of a hospital room, his body a patchwork of bandages and tubes. Colonel Reeves stood at his bedside, his face grim. "Earth is under attack," Reeves said without preamble. "The Volarans hit us out of nowhere. Troops landing in every major city. Our forces are overwhelmed." Refusing to stand down, Reeves shook his head. "You're in no condition to fight, Captain. You nearly died on Proxima Centauri V. You think that matters now?" Tucker snarled, ripping out his IVs. "Earth needs every soldier it has, and I'm the best damn soldier we've got." Rallying the troops. Against medical advice, against all sanity, Tucker suited up, his armor hiding the bulk of his bandages. He gathered Task Force Titan, every warrior marked by the scars of 100 battles. "This is it, Titans," he growled. "This is what we've trained for. The Volarans think they can take our home. It's time to show them how wrong they are." The final assault. Their target was the Volaran command ship, a monstrous dreadnought hovering in low Earth orbit. From its bridge, the Volaran generals directed their invasion, coordinating the assault on humanity's home. Getting aboard was a suicide mission. The ship was a fortress, bristling with enough firepower to level a continent. But the Titans had a plan. Infiltrating the dreadnought. Hijacking a Volaran dropship, they approached the dreadnought, broadcasting captured IFF codes. The dreadnought's defenses held fire, unsuspecting. As soon as they were within range, Tucker and his team blew the dropship's airlock, EVA suits propelling them across the gulf of space. They latched onto the dreadnought's hull like armored ticks, mag boots adhering to the alien metal. Breaching the hull. Cutting through the hull was arduous, the Volaran alloy resisting even their enhanced plasma torches. But inch by painstaking inch, they carved their way inside, into the belly of the beast. Alarms blared as the Titans breached the ship's interior. Volaran soldiers swarming to meet them. But these were no ordinary troopers. They were the ship's apex guard, the elite of the elite. The battle inside. The corridors became a blood-soaked abattoir. the Titans fighting for every inch. Tucker was a man possessed, his rifle and blade claiming a life with every stride. Pain was a distant thing, drowned out by the drumbeat of battle rage in his skull. They fought their way to the bridge, a trail of Valoran, dead marking their passage. Confronting the Admiral. The blast doors were meters thick, but they hadn't been built to withstand Tucker's fury. He ripped them open with his bare hands, the metal shrieking in protest. The bridge was chaos, Valoran officers scrambling for weapons as the Titans stormed in, cutting them down in sprays of blood and sparks. In the center of it all stood Admiral Zan, his face a mask of shock and rage. Final showdown with Admiral Zan. "I'm hard to kill," Tucker replied, leveling his rifle. "You're about to learn it the hard way." Zan lunged, a crackling energy blade leaping into his hand. He was fast, faster than any Valoran Tucker had faced before. The blade slashed, and Tucker's rifle fell away in molten pieces. They crashed together, fists and feet blurring in a deadly dance. Zan was strong, his blows cracking Tucker's armor, reopening half-healed wounds. But Tucker was stronger, his rage and desperation fueling him beyond the limits of flesh. Overcoming Zan. A final thunderous blow sent Zan toppling, his skull caved in. Tucker stood over his body, chest heaving, blood dripping from his gauntlets. But there was no time for respite. As Tucker turned to his Titans, a holographic display flickered to life, a Valoran scientist's face leering down at them. The scientist's revelation. "Congratulations, Captain Tucker," the scientist hissed. "You've killed our leadership, but you're too late. Our real weapon is already deployed, a virus engineered from your own genetic code. It's spreading across your planet now, targeting every human who shares your enhancements. You are now the instrument of your own species' destruction." The new threat. Tucker stared at the display, horror dawning as the scientist's words sank in. The Valorans hadn't been trying to make super soldiers. They'd been making a doomsday weapon, and he was the key. Every Titan, every soldier who shared his genes, was now a walking plague-bearer, a threat to the very people they had sworn to protect. Formulating a new plan. Tucker's mind raced, despair and determination warring within him. He had led his people to victory, but at what cost? What good was winning the battle if he lost the war for humanity's very survival? There had to be a way, some desperate gambit he hadn't seen yet. Because if there wasn't, then all the blood, all the sacrifice, had been for nothing. Vowing to save humanity, he looked to his Titans, saw his own grim resolve mirrored in their eyes. They would fight on, even if every step brought them closer to humanity's extinction. Because that's what soldiers did, that's what heroes did. Tucker activated his comm, his words a promise and a prayer. "This is Captain Tucker to Earth Command. The Valoran leadership is dead, but we have a new mission. We have to find a cure before it's too late for all of us." The cure. The Antarctic base. The bitter Antarctic wind howled across the desolate landscape, whipping snow and ice against the abandoned military base that now served as a makeshift quarantine facility for Tucker and the remaining members of Task Force Titan. Inside the base's cramped, poorly heated confines, the soldiers worked tirelessly, poring over data stolen from the Valorans, desperately searching for a way to counteract the virus that now threatened to wipe out humanity. Racing against time, Tucker stood hunched over a workbench, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep, his hands trembling from a combination of cold, exhaustion, and the ever-present fear that they might already be too late. He looked up as Sergeant Hawkins, his second-in-command, approached, a grim expression on her face. Receiving the bad news. "Report," Tucker said, his voice hoarse. "It's not good, sir," Hawkins replied. "The Valorans have overrun most of North America. Europe is hanging on by a thread. And the virus." She trailed off, shaking her head. The desperate situation. Tucker slammed his fist on the workbench, sending tools and equipment clattering to the floor. "We're running out of time. We need a breakthrough, and we need it now." Just then, a comm unit on the wall crackled to life. "Captain Tucker," a voice said, distorted by static. "We're receiving a transmission from Valoran Command. They're demanding to speak with you." The Valoran proposition. Tucker and Hawkins exchanged a glance. Then Tucker strode over to the comm unit, his jaw set. "Put them through." The screen flickered, then resolved into the image of a Valoran general, his scaly face twisted into a sneer. "Captain Tucker," the general said, his voice dripping with contempt. "I am General Vex. I have a proposition for you." "The offer." Tucker's eyes narrowed. "I'm listening." "Surrender yourself and your remaining soldiers to us," Vex said. "In exchange, we will agree to a temporary ceasefire. Your species will have a brief respite from our onslaught." Considering the trap, Tucker's mind raced. He knew it was a trap, but he also knew that they were out of options. They needed more time, and if sacrificing himself and his team could buy that time. The agreement. "We shall meet at coordinates I provide," Vex continued. "You will come unarmed and unarmored. Any attempt at deception and the ceasefire will be void." Tucker took a deep breath. Agreed. Preparing for the mission. As the transmission ended, Hawkins grabbed his arm. "Sir, you can't seriously be considering this. It's suicide." "We don't have a choice," Tucker replied, shaking off her grip. "Assemble the team." The final mission. Minutes later, the remaining members of Task Force Titan stood before Tucker, their faces grim but determined. "Listen up," Tucker said. "I know I'm asking a lot of you, but this is our last chance. While the Valerans are focused on us, the rest of humanity will have a chance to regroup, to find a way to fight back." He paused, looking at each soldier in turn. "But we're not going down without a fight. We got one last mission. Intel suggests the Valerans have a research facility in the Amazon rainforest. That's where they're developing the virus. If we can infiltrate that facility, steal their data, we might be able to find a cure." Stealing for the battle. The soldiers nodded, a glimmer of hope in their eyes. "It won't be easy," Tucker continued. "In fact, it's probably a one-way trip. But if we can give humanity a fighting chance, then it will all be worth it." As the team prepared for their final mission, loading weapons and checking equipment, Tucker pulled Hawkins aside. "Sarah," he said, using her first name for the first time, "if I don't make it back." "Don't," Hawkins interrupted, shaking her head. "Don't say it. We're all coming back. We have to." But as they boarded the transport that would take them to the rendezvous point, Tucker couldn't shake the feeling that he was leading his team to their deaths. The final battle. The green hell. The Amazon rainforest was a green hell, the air thick with humidity and a constant drone of insects. Tucker and his team moved through the undergrowth like ghosts, their Valoran-derived active camouflage rendering them nearly invisible. They had been trudging through the jungle for hours, following the coordinates provided by Vex. Tucker knew they were walking into an ambush, but they had no choice. The research facility was their only hope.